Hello, everyone. Robin Sachs and Lindsay House, a couple of coaches who are bringing you the ABCs of success for 2022. For those of you who have been with us through this year, we are walking through the alphabet letter by letter. And today we are on the letter V. So we're going to talk about some success words that start with V. Hi, Lindsay. How are you?
Good. Hi, Robin.
Good, good. Hey, by the way, how's your accountability stuff going? That's an
Oh,
awesome program.
good. Yes, I feel like the holidays, and you probably get going with this too with clients, but the holidays just bring their own circumstances, their own need for accountability because everything that we have set out to do, the chaos of the holidays just kind of our priority list just starts shifting. So it's really making sure that everybody keeps our intentions right at the top, of that priority list, not letting the holidays derail us. I don't want any of us coming out in December going, "Ugh, I wish I would have," or "I'm so mad that I fill in the blank." So hopefully people keep listening to us right now, Robin, and they can stay motivated and stay on track all the way through till January.
Cool, cool. If you have not yet checked out what Lindsay is doing with accountability right now, you need to go check that out. She'll talk about that maybe at the end, tell you where to go check that out. But that actually lends itself to the first V I'm going to throw out there, which has to do with victories. And in particular, small victories. It's so easy on autopilot, which no judgment, just awareness. We're all usually on, unless we're making a point to be intentional, which isn't always easy when we're going from thing to thing in life. But we too often get stuck on what's going wrong, what I'm not doing, what I should be doing. And when you start to do little tiny things consistently and celebrate those little wins, celebrate the small victories, those little things add up. And until you do it that way, you don't see that. You don't realize how powerful those little tiny victories that you have every single day work for you.
Right.
What are your thoughts on small victories?
Oh my goodness. All of my thoughts. I feel like the small victories it's the big picture. It's all of it. Unless we start acknowledging our small victories, we just have this enormous giant journey in front of us that we never have any fun along that path, along that way. And that end point that we're all fighting so hard to hit, whether that's like a weight goal or whether it's a business goal, it's never what we think it's going to feel like. So it's so important to enjoy the whole journey from now, exactly where you are, all the way as you fight through it. And so when Robin and I started thinking through victories, I just think, how are you going to measure your victories? I think some of us are kind of good about being like champagne moment or coffee moment. Like, let's celebrate for a second. And I think some of us really, really struggle with that we think we're being like too rah or too like almost kindergarten preschool teacher, like give yourself a pat on the back.
Good job.
I don't know. We can, we can view it wrong where we're not saying that. We're not saying that you have to like, I don't know. Where does your head go with that? Like, do you get what I'm trying to show? Like the people who really struggle to give themselves victories, what would you say to them?
And it's funny because I'm going to pull in another V here. And because I think that they're interconnected.
Okay.
Is validation.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes, to your point, and tell me if I don't know if this is off base or right on point with what you're saying, Lindsay, but when I think of validation, it's interesting how sometimes we're always waiting for people outside of us to validate us and say, good job, way to go, I'm proud of you. And we spend a lot of time waiting for that. And what you need to know is you're allowed to self-validate at any time.
Yes.
You're allowed to go, look what I did. I'm actually pretty proud of myself. Look what I did. Nice job. And we're, like you said, I think we're almost, I don't even know if it's afraid to, or we just don't trust ourselves. We don't believe it if it comes from ourselves because we're not yet confident enough with ourselves to go, no, if I say I'm proud of me, I believe that because it's true. I'm not lying to myself or just trying to make me feel better. I'm not playing games. I mean it. And so I think in order to see those victories, you do have to do some self-validation and
Yeah.
remind yourself it's okay to be your own cheerleader. As a matter of fact, it's imperative that you are your own cheerleader sometimes.
Amen.
And
Yes.
that's why, when we don't believe it internally, which is why even when it comes from external sources, somebody says, "You're really good at that." What do we usually do? "Oh, nah, it's not really that big a deal. I'm not that good." That's how little we believe in ourselves sometimes. When somebody outside of you validates you and says, "You're really good at this," you need to stop, take a breath, look them in the eye and say, "Thank you," and shut it from there. Shut the trap at that point, because if you're not doing that, what you're doing is telling them they're wrong, first of all, which is not a nice thing to do to people. Right? And two, so don't be that person. And
Yeah.
two, if other people are seeing something in you, they're validating you. The only roadblock is you're choosing not to validate yourself because you don't believe it. So self validate, be your own cheerleader every time you hit one of those small victories. Make that a habit. It will change your life forever.
Yes, I'm going to say something you just said and just spin it a little bit differently, because I think what's so interesting about this, and as I sit back and listen to you, is there's an irony behind this validation piece, is that we hesitate to self validate and we want external validation. But when we get external validation, we either don't believe it or accept it. So then, if we're not ultimately working on accepting any form of validation, then we're never celebrating, right? We're never seeing any of the positives happening. So it's almost like, even with the external validation, we don't need to seek out all this external, but like you said, when it comes, accept it.
Absorb it, embrace
Yes.
it, believe
Yes,
it.
it's a hallelujah moment, like, thank you. It's so hard. And that's one of Robin and I's homework assignments for you today, is to say thank you. I don't care if it's as simple as like something that you've cooked maybe over the holidays, that somebody says, "This is delicious. Thank you." Not thank you, but I feel like we always follow this up with, "Oh, thank you, but you've lost so much weight. Robin, you look amazing. Thank you, but I still have so
Right.
much more." Like there's always that layered in but behind it.
Right. Hey, you're talking about my weight again, aren't you?
Stop.
Right. Right. And again, brilliantly put, Lindsay. And that's the thing. We don't give ourselves a chance to get it right.
Yeah.
We don't give ourselves a chance to just go, "Yeah, that did go well." We
Yeah.
don't give ourselves, we take a second and then there's almost this need to say, but it still sucks, but I'm not there yet. Right? But
Yeah.
it's not as good as it used to be. Oh my goodness, cut yourself some slack. Give yourself a break, because think about it. I always like to say, okay, think about when other people do that. How does that make them sound and look? And how do you feel when other people do that?
Right. Right.
Well, that's what's happening outside of you when you do that. And so again, this isn't about good or bad, right or wrong. This is all about, there are opportunities you have every single moment of every single day to celebrate the victories, to just accept the feedback you're getting, right? Accept when people validate you, and for their sake, say thank you, right? Don't tell them they're wrong by coming up with a different story. The yes, but, the dreaded yes, but, right?
Yeah.
And, part of that kind of big picture is, if this is where I am on my path and here's where I started and here's where I want to go, if I'm here, if all you do is look forward and say, "Look how far I have to go. I'm nowhere close to my goal still. I can't believe I still have all that." You have got to sometimes look backwards and go, "Look how far I've come. Look how much I've accomplished. Holy cow." That's one of the few times I will allow people to look backwards, because there's not a whole lot back there that you need. Stay out of the past. Go back there to remind yourself how you got to where you are now. And then say, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, I'll get to where I want to go. That's all I have to do. So don't keep looking forward. Occasionally look back and then get right back in the present moment and say, let me just keep doing what's working.
Yeah.
And then don't worry about the future and the past so much. Stay here and keep doing. You're doing
Yes.
great. And validate yourself so you can celebrate the small victories.
Yeah, and I think, and last thing, and then I'll close this out, but I feel like we're role models at all times. We never know whose eyeballs are watching. And for, if this helps from like a mom standpoint, to think that your kids are watching you with the accepting of a compliment, accepting of a thank you with no buts behind it. And you know what, if it's not a kid thing, it can just be a friend thing. I feel like there's been times where I've watched somebody just graciously accept a compliment. And I think because it's so rare, it stands out. And I think, wow, good job. Well done. That was so nice to just watch somebody say thank you instead of try to like belittle themselves behind it and why it was kind of easy or whatever. So just remember, you're always role modeling. There are always eyeballs on us. We always have that opportunity to affect somebody else in a positive way. So
Love that. And from a confidence standpoint, one of the
yes.
greatest things you can do is stop talking. A lot of times we think we're going to build our presence or be seen as more knowledgeable, more confident, more capable, more whatever by adding to it and proving something. The most confident thing in the world is to sit back and stop talking.
Oh, and I'm so bad at that. I mean, my kids would be like, "Oh, well, then you are not doing this well."
And the reason is because there's power in silence. There's
Yes.
power in the pause, right? And
Mhm.
we all do this. We all catch ourselves doing this. Start to pay attention to those people who do take compliments, right? Someone validates them and they say, "Thank you so much." Or even add to it, "Thank you so much for noticing. I've been working on that."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then stop. And to your point, Lindsay, see what the silence that follows that instead of an excuse or another reason or a but or a let me knock my self-esteem down because I don't like that you just built me up. I better knock myself back down. I'm comfortable there.
Yeah.
Think about how that looks and feels from an outsider. And then if you like how it looks and feels, begin to validate yourself and give yourself permission to say thank you when others validate you too. It's a superpower. It
Oh,
really is.
yeah.
So, and you know what? I think, and this can kind of take us out because it goes along with victories and validation. A lot of times we're very general with things and we don't get down to the details and get really clear on things. And I would say this is a great vague.
Mhm.
When we're just vague about any of the things we're doing or what does constitute a victory or not, or what does validation look like or not, it's not a general thing. It's something fairly specific. And so if we stop being vague about things,
Mhm.
we can get a lot more clarity and it becomes easier to recognize those moments when they come. So, Lindsay, can I throw vague to you and see where your mind goes?
Yes, and I loved how you were just stating this. Like my brain just goes, it just everybody's victory or whatever we're trying to not be vague on is very individualized. And
Mhm.
that's I think the vague part almost comes from like chasing somebody else's goals or like not really understanding where we're getting our victories or how we're setting our goals because they're not our own. And so when we're not vague, it can get a little scary because we have to actually understand what we want and what will bring us joy, which is hard, right? And so one of the places that my brain goes with this when I talk to clients about goal setting, and Robin had mentioned this, I ran a November accountability group, and I'm going to do this in December too. It's just a week. Everybody sets goals or sets intentions, sometimes if that word feels better. And then we just work at it for a week to build momentum for the next week that carries you through the month. It's interesting when we set goals is how quickly we can see vague. We can even feel like we're not trying to be vague. We can set a goal like, I'm going to work out more this week. I'm going to run this week and I'm going to go to the gym. And it's like, okay, that sounds awesome. But we have to go like one step further. Are you saying you're going to do that twice this week or 3 times this week? Because if we don't put the numbers behind it, then we don't know if if it was like a yes, I accomplished it, or no, I didn't accomplish it. And I think that's the best way to see if we're being vague or not, is to really be able to say, after I state a want or an intention, can I say, yes, I've completed it the way that I have stated it? So like when we do goal setting, it's called SMART goal setting, and you set like measurable time. Where is my brain going with this? My S.
Yeah, what is it? The specific? Is it specific?
Specific, thank you. Specific, measurable, attainable, relatable, and time measured. So like there's a very like, specific way to set goals. And I think even Robin, do you feel this way even with like confidence coaching and with mindset training? Is there specificity with that and how you talk about it?
Absolutely. You know, the number one thing, like I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm working with someone from a public speaking standpoint. So I do a lot of that with confidence. Hey, I'm in a new role. Now I'm leading a team for the first time, right? Now I'm speaking to executive level for the first time, or I'm presenting more. And the higher up you go in any kind of situation or organization, the less it is about your knowledge, the more it is about your communication skills and your people skills. And so because a lot of people are comfortable with their knowledge, but not so comfortable with their communication or people skills until they need them, and now they're thrown in the fire, what tends to happen is confidence goes down and stress goes up. And so we need to figure out how to balance that back out and use your stress as your friend and be able to bump your confidence when you do need to do that. And one of the very first things with a client like that I have them do is take their phone, set it up somewhere, or at their laptop, sit and put the camera on, and you need to record yourself talking for a couple of minutes. And then you need to watch it. And the reason we do that is how you think you're showing up in your head is drastically different than how you're showing up, what everyone else is seeing and what everyone else is hearing. Yeah. And it goes both ways. Sometimes you're going, oh my goodness, that was a train wreck. And you watch it and you go, oh, in my head, it was a train wreck. Out of my head, it actually was okay. It didn't look so bad. Mm-hmm. That's powerful to know. The other also applies where you look at it and go, I didn't even know I was doing that. Why do I say every other word? Why is my hand doing this and it doesn't stop, right? What am I doing with my face? Why am I moving constantly? The idea with both of those sides is awareness. If you are not aware, you cannot change anything. And so awareness is the number one thing to changing anything. If I don't know I'm doing something, I can't change it. And if I am doing something, I need to know specifically what is it I'm doing and why do I want to change it? If I change it, what's the impact of it? Yeah. And so that's an example of how I use that specificity, which is a really hard word to say. Specificity. I had to stop and think, you've got to get specific. You've got to get clear, because you can't just say, I just want to be more confident and less stressed when I speak. All right, well, that doesn't tell you anything. So how do you do that? What do you practice? What do you need to be aware of? You might be doing things that accomplish that already that you might not even realize, because in your head, you're saying, I'm not. So that awareness is key to be able to get specific and get clear, because the moment you're specific and clear, you can change anything. When you have awareness, you're at a powerful place.
You are. I picture this with everything. I just want to be a healthy eater. Does that mean that you eat 5 fruits and vegetables every day and then that counts as being a healthy eater? Does it mean that you don't eat out more than twice a week? That's what we're talking about as far as vague. I just want to be a worker outer. Does that mean you need to be training for a marathon, or does that mean that you need to put on your tennis shoes and go for a walk every day? Like, everybody's definition of what they have in their head as these labeled items. I just want to be more confident. All of that falls into, you have to name it, be specific. What does that look like for you?
You've got to
name it. So I hate to do this. Mm-hmm. This is my fault today. Robin and I are wrapping up a little early because of my silly car.
We're going to practice the stop talking thing today.
Yes. I'm struggling. I know. Oh, you can find Robin over on LinkedIn or at her website at robinjsachs.com. I see you all the time on LinkedIn and I love it. I feel like I steal a lot of your posts because I'm always like, oh yeah, like it. Yes. You can find me, Direction Not Perfection, my podcast on iTunes or anywhere that you listen to your podcasts, or over at healthaccountabilitycoach.com. Have an amazing Thanksgiving. And then I believe, Robin, we're back in December together.
Yes, and we're going to be finishing out the alphabet. Just a few more to go. So we will look forward to seeing you then.
Yes, sounds good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye, Lindsay.
Bye, Robin.